The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus raised his eyes to heaven and said, Holy Father, I pray not only for these, but for those also who through their words will believe in me. May they all be one. Father, may they be one in us, as you are in me and I am in you, so that the world may believe it was you who sent me. I have given them the glory you gave to me, that they may be one as we are one. With me in them and you in me, may they be so completely one that the world will realize that it was you who sent me, that I have loved them as much as you loved me. Father, I want those you have given me to be with me where I am, so that they may always see the glory you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. Father, righteous one, the world has not known you, but I have known you, and these have known that you have sent me. I've made your name known to them, and will continue to make it known, so that the love with which you loved me may be in them, and so that I may be in them. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
May the words of the Gospel wipe away all our sins. Now some beautiful readings tying in with this theme of unity and fostering unity in the church and communion among all Christians. There's a Radio Maria station in Ukraine. There's a priest director there, Father Alexei Samsonov. I've met him a number of times, and he gives regular updates as to the situation in the Ukraine for Radio Maria. But ever before the war started, he would speak of the marvellous work that Radio Maria allowed him to do just after the example of St. Josaphat, bringing together the East, the Orthodox, and the Greek rites of the Church, of Christianity, let's say, with the Latin rites. We belong to the Roman or the Latin rite, the Roman Catholic Church, the Orthodox belonging to the Eastern rites, let's say. And some of them are in communion with Rome, like the Greek Orthodox and the Syrians, but others were still separate since about the year 1000. There's a long history there. But he was telling us how Radio Maria was a terrific instrument for him to reach out to them, because we share in common with the Orthodox a tremendous love for Our Lady. And you know how they have beautiful icons. You've seen, I'm sure, some of these. They're very popular here now as well. They have great veneration and great honour for Our Blessed Lady. So there's a tremendous link bringing the two together. But sadly, he said, in recent weeks they've started these aerial attacks now. It's based in Kiev, and there's power outages now, and their transmitters and so on are only on and off intermittently. But he said even in the middle of this, they're still holding on, and whenever the power is on, they're dedicating the time to prayer. Just praying and praying and praying. And like ourselves, it's the Rosary, it's the Mass, it's the Divine Mercy Chaplet, Stations of the Cross, the Staple Diet. I'm sure they have some of their own prayers too. And of course in their own language to their own people. But there's a Radio Maria in Russia. It's in Moscow. And I've met the priest director there some years ago too. And they have even more difficulty in trying to survive and maintain themselves, because the Catholic population is so relatively small in such a vast nation. But again, they're playing their part and courageously trying to gently witness to the faith and bring about communion. And this is it's a difficult task. We can kind of imagine how or why St. Josaphat was martyred in the end, because of the resistance. We see it today. It's simply hard work. Pope Francis, he was in Bahrain recently, meeting the King of Jordan, and now these are Muslim leaders, but trying to reach out a bit of friendship towards them, say, look, it's good that we Christians can still live among you and be a presence of, again, charity, of fellowship, even when there are all these other sort of seething, it's like a seething cauldron of all this kind of opposition. But here he is in the middle of it, is trying to bear peace into the situation. And it's messy and it's complicated and it's not easy. But again, as a world figure, and That's why he went to Kazakhstan not too long ago as well, the very same reason, to try to reach out to the Muslim population there and the leaders there. And no doubt, the underlying sort of motivation also is to try to form bridges in order to bring peace to the Ukraine, and bring Ukraine and Russia. Because these are sort of, Eastern countries, and they have their own influence. There's a lot of politics and who knows what, way beyond my pay grade, but that he's seeking to do. So marvellous, not just diplomacy, but stepping into this situation in faith as a representative of Christ. So, those beautiful readings of Ephesians, we've had it again recently, but this is the motivation for us, and of course for the Pope and any work towards communion, to bear with one another charitably, in complete selflessness, gentleness and patience. So we have our own little wars going on, maybe at home or maybe in the community or wherever. None of us is without some kind of this little bit of friction. It's and I must come out first and say it's because of my fallen nature, my sin. It's a good place always to start and work at, as St. Paul speaks of, to do all you can to preserve the unity of the Spirit by the peace that binds you together. And we have lovely hymns to remind us of that as well. And this is why Jesus then, his last prayer, this is the quotation we have from the Gospel, is his last prayer with his disciples. John 17 is just before he goes out to be arrested and put to death. And his final prayer in this very moment that we're enjoying now at the Holy Mass, the Last Supper, his prayer is, I pray that you may all be one, as the Father and I are one, and that you may live in me, that I may dwell in you. And so he is doing. And in our weakness and our frailty, we need him to be with us in order to help us to forgive so that we can grow in communion.